Previously, we have learned about the brief history of financial crisis in 2008, and we have learned about derivatives, securitization, subprime mortgage, and a little bit about asset-backed securities. And in today's video, I'm going to explain more about asset-backed securities with an illustration. For those who are not familiar with asset-backed securities, think of the commercial paper because they're a little bit the same. But the main characteristic of the commercial paper is the lack of collateral, which they are all simply based on the trust in the name of the company. Meanwhile, the asset-backed securities, they have the collateral, and they have a kind of intermediate company or paper company that called as the special purpose vehicle. So let's begin. Let's say we have the car manufacturer here. The car manufacturer, they produce cars and they sell car to customers, and they receive money in a form of cash or receivable. And we have the investor here. The investors will help the car manufacturer to finance its productions, and we have the intermediate company calls a special purpose vehicle. So the car manufacturer will transfer or will place its receivable to a special purpose vehicle, and it's allowed the special purpose vehicle to use the pool of assets or to use the pool of the receivable as the collateral. And then special purpose vehicle will be issuing securities that can be bought by the investors that we know as the asset-backed securities or mortgage-backed securities. It's depending on the a type of the collateral. That is like explanation about asset-backed securities. Next up, we have the mortgage-backed securities. Mortgage-backed securities is basically a financial product that is backed by the mortgage. So let's say I want to buy a home, but I don't have money, so I have to go to bank and ask them to lend me some money, and bank will loan out the money and will give me the mortgage loan to buy a home. And the bank will help this mortgage loan for such a long time, let's say for 30 years, and 30 years was a typical duration for a loan like this. But the downside of this mortgage loan is they are very illiquid, which means it took like 30 years for a bank to receive the full benefits of this mortgage loan. So the next course of action taken by bank was they decide to solve this contract before the terms expire, which is before 30 years. They sold them to the investment bank. And then investment bank decide to bundle all of these mortgage loans. And keep in mind that each of these contracts, they are generating cash flow. So this is what makes these contracts are very attractive to the investor because they are generating a very stable amount of revenue, and also they back by home. So let's say one of this contract go bad, the home that is linked to this contract could be sold. So the lenders could be whole again. And the investment bank then created SPE or special purpose entity or SPV. Simply to hold this contract, simply to hold this asset. And then the bank decide to then sold the stock or share to the investment, and which we called as the mortgage-backed securities. So this stock certificate is basically entitled the holder to get a portion of the proceeds being generated by this contract. So this is what we call the mortgage-backed securities. Basically, mortgage-backed securities consists of like 1,000 and 1,000 of mortgage, which makes them it's a little bit difficult to assess them in terms of creditworthiness, and makes this mortgage-backed security can be booked by the investor because they can be rated by the rating agency. One of them, each of the mortgage can be rated, but when they are bundled together as the MBS, it's very difficult to rate them because the institutional investor, they are big buyer, then they have like they legally obligated to buy the financial product or to invest in the financial product that has a certain rating, let's say like AAA. So how to make this mortgage-backed security become more popular? They decide to group this MBS into tranches. tranche is basically a French word meaning a portion of something. So they decide to create a class of mortgage-backed securities. Remember that each of this contract generating cash flow, they're generating money. So if one of this contract defaulted, the rest of the contract still generating money, right? So let's say these mortgage-backed securities, they group this MBS into tranches. The first tranche is the senior tranche. The second tranche is the mezzanine tranche, and the last one is the equity tranche. And the senior class or the senior tranche, they will get paid first. Yes, and if there is still money being generated by this contract, the mezzanine will get paid. If there is still money being generated by the contract, the equity will get paid. So this is what we call as the collateralized debt obligation, or CDO. So basically, a CDO is a group of MBS. No, MBS that group into classes. Yeah. So uh, next is this is the class of the CDO, senior class, the mezzanine, the senior, and it's allowed the credit rating agency to rate them. Let's say they give the rate for the senior class AAA, the mezzanine BBB, and the equity double C, which is more risky, the equity class. This is the lowest class. It's the risk rating given by the credit rating agency, and this is what makes this collateralized debt obligation can be booked by the institutional investor, because now they have the rating, right? And let's say one of this, let's say the equity tranche, you will get like a higher interest rate, because this equity is more risky, and the mezzanine will get like a lesser interest rate, and senior you much safer and you get like the lowest interest rates. Let's say you want to buy the equity tranche, which is more risky, right? But the way to make this investment become even safer is there is something called the insurance, the credit default swap. You can buy this insurance to insure your investment, to make this investment like a little bit safer, at least perceived to be safer. So this is what makes the market, the ABS market, go crazy in terms of size, because now they can be bought by the institutional investors. Yeah, so this is actually just a basic knowledge about the credit default swap, because this is how they work, because the credit default swap like works like the insurance in this scenario. So I think that's all guys about this MBS, the CDO is all about the securitization of the subprime mortgage.